Okay, so I kind of like, I prayed and I thought and I wonder and I figured that maybe I could record myself and hopefully you can hear this and understand that we got to do what we ought to do with the inheritance and what we cannot do, uh, then we have to just admit we cannot do and reach out. And if we cannot even get any resolution by reaching out, then it's God's permissive will. And I just want you to know that it's very tough to understand our mother, but I urge you to understand our mother in the Catholic faith that she herself passed down to us. Okay? This is the most important thing. Asking ourselves if she would be fine with what we're doing. Would she had regretted spending long nights reading papers, fighting for justice, and losing sleep, hiring attorney Navarrete, or maybe just setting aside all the possessions, jewelry, coins, and just not having to fight over that, right? And it does kind of bring us some kind of guilt, right? Just thinking about this, right? Because it's very silent, right? Not having her. And it leaves the silence to be offered up to God. Thankfully, we have silence to be able to draw ourselves to God and ask Him, what do you want us to make of this, right? And we receiving Holy Communion as often as we can, praying the Rosary every day, reading the daily readings from the church, really understanding the homilies that the priests give as many times as we hear them, and pondering the way the Virgin Mary pondered, we will get to the bottom of everything. From my end, this is what I understand. To understand our mother's heart, we must look to Grandfather Salvador, right? Do you ever question why he didn't fight his sister Socorro for his inheritance? He could have gone to medical school had he gotten the inheritance back, but he didn't. On the contrary, he was stripped of all his wealth and worked, labored, not just for himself, but for his younger brother, Tio Pepe, right? So that he could become a doctor. That took a lot of humility, a lot of sacrifice, right? He even accepted his impoverished state by letting his daughter, Tia Marta, live with Tia Socorro, because he knew that he couldn't provide her with much, right? So where was the justice in all of this, right, for Grandfather Salvador? So Grandfather Salvador chose not to become bitter. I do not recall him being bitter. He was so serene. And I always wondered, after finding out about all this, how could he have possibly been so serene? How could he have possibly been so faithful? I don't forget him wanting to attend Sunday Mass when I saw him at the age of 16. So I go back with our mother passing away, and I realized that he deepened his Catholic faith every day through his life, through his sacrifices, and I'm pretty sure our mother did as well. And with this, he showed our mother how to offer it up as a sacrifice, everything that they endured. I recall someone saying to me that he would get on his knees every night to pray after he had 2 long shifts at work, working in the steel factories, right? And that's pretty impressive, because who has time to get on their knees to pray, even after working something that's so light compared to working in a steel factory job, right? And he was very faithful in attending Sunday Mass. And then finally, having the inheritance returned to him just months before his death, that must have been very bittersweet, right? And then he passes away. So this was, for us, a testament to his redemptive suffering, right? The belief that by uniting our pain with Christ, it is giving a purpose, right? So Grandfather Salvador understood both God's ordaining will, which is what God actively causes to happen, and God's permitting will, which is what God allows to happen to bring about a greater good. So Grandfather Salvador didn't see his suffering as something God caused, but as something God permitted. And in that, he found an opportunity to offer it up. Our belated mother, Alma, being his daughter, was truly a daddy's girl in this regard. And it reminds me of Mother Mary's perfect relationship with God the Father. The fact that our own inheritance matter remains unsolved, and this is the inheritance of Grandfather Salvador, mind you, I believe is, indeed he might be most likely in heaven, and he is interceding for us to God the Father through Jesus Christ and Mother Mary and Joseph. And he's in heaven asking us to wake up from our lukewarm faith and follow Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, right? Because that's the greatest richness that we could ever have before we pass away, right? Mother Mary, she stood at the foot of the cross. So she's the ultimate example of how we as Catholics are meant to understand suffering. And I remember Monica telling me that our mother loved Mother Mary, and I can see why. Because Mother Mary did not run from the pain of watching her son die. She endured it with faith and love. Kind of like our mother, not running away from the pain of being a mother of 10, abandoned, abused by her husband, and humiliated by her neighbors and society, right? And Mother Mary united her pain to everything that she endured, just the way our mother tried to do. So, yeah, Mother Mary was someone that Grandfather Salvador and our mother Alma most likely looked up to. And that's why our mother was a very saintly woman, because she understood that suffering could be transformed into something holy and redemptive. And with that, she taught us that. That's something that we also need to learn and do, which is very difficult, right? She did not live her faith. She taught it to us, right? And she didn't do it all loud and just the way I'm like recording myself. She would leave the books of the late Bishop Fulton Sheen around the house, so that the wisdom that he was sharing in his book, we could read, right? So I think that she wanted us to understand, but she didn't want to be pushy, right? Because she wanted to have us understand that Bishop Fulton Sheen always said that nothing more tragic in this world is that of wasted pain. In other words, wasted suffering. It's tragic. It's very tragic when we don't look at the pain that is being brought to us through the suffering and use it to offer it up, right? We have to seek, as belated Bishop Fulton asked us, to unite our suffering with that of Jesus Christ. And by doing that, we have a purpose. It is no longer a senseless burden, as many people may perceive our mother's life as a senseless life, right? No, it's not a senseless life. And when our father said, "Oh, what did your mother ever do with her life?" She offered it up. And that's something that our belated father never quite understood by saying that remark, right? Our mother literally exemplified everything our belated father should have done for us, right? And she did. She took on that responsibility, even through her femininity, right? When it was that of our father to do, right? Because she had her father, Grandfather Salvador, to help her understand and do the same, right? So our mother's pain was not wasted. Our mother's life was not wasted. Yes, she did the greatest thing beyond even what our father could do. She did the most amazing thing that any human being can do in the world. And those that do it become saints, right? She saw her life as a living oblation, a continuous offering to God. She endured her hardships, not with bitterness, but with love. And even when she was bitter, she knew how to bring it to God and was healed and understood to forgive those that hurted her, right? She dedicated her suffering for the sake of those God gave her to love. She dedicated to us 10 children. She took up her cross daily and she offered it all to Jesus Christ. She understood the core idea that those of the world suffer, but those that follow Jesus sacrifice. Yes, the worldly person sees pain as something random to be avoided, just like our belated father did. He could never understand why our mother withstood so much pain, right? Why didn't she do anything, right? But those that follow Jesus Christ, like our mother and grandfather Salvador, they see their suffering as a purposeful act of self-denial and love, right? So the eldest ones, they probably were the ones that saw the struggle more than the youngest ones, right? But what our mother Alma was doing was transforming her crosses into crucifixes. A cross is just a symbol of suffering, but a crucifix is a symbol of redemptive suffering, right? A pain that has been given meaning because it is united with Jesus Christ, our Lord, right? So let's just look at our mother and our grandfather Salvador as having paved the way for all of us. And right now, the whole issue with the inheritance is probably still a matter that's ongoing because we have failed to see their example. They have failed to understand the lesson and how to turn hardship into holiness. They taught us that suffering is not an obstacle on the road to heaven, but it is the road itself. So let us find comfort in not what might happen and why did things go the way they did, but in knowing that our mother Alma's life of holy suffering is now her crown of glory. And most likely she's rejoicing with grandfather Salvador and Mother Mary and Jesus Christ and Venerable Fulton Yushin. But we got to pray for their souls no matter what because we can never be sure. So I love you. Okay, take care. Have a happy, holy Saturday. Bye.